This is episode number 118, and it is really been a long, hard trip. So we hope everything works for us. It's an educational show about smartphones and tablets with us, Geeks on Tour. I'm going to get right into a quick tip, aren't you, Chris?
Yeah. We've been in Europe, and they go by a 24-hour clock in at least most places over there. So we wanted to change our phones, and we thought this would be a great little quick tip. So let me just show you, both on an iPhone and on Android, how you change your time to be a 24-hour format. So in the iPhone, you go to Settings, General, Date and Time, 24-hour time. And on Android, it's basically the same. It's just Settings and System. So let me show you how. First, this is Jim's Android phone. It's a Pixel. And I get to Settings by dragging down and then tapping the little gear. And it's under System and Date and Time. And use 24-hour format, you just turn that on. And now the clock, you can see up at the top there, is showing 1400. On the iPhone, you go to Settings, and in this one, it's under General and Date and Time. And I already do have my 24-hour on, so it's saying 14. If I want to turn that off, it's now saying 2 o'clock. And that's my quick tip.
Very cool. All right.
It's looking a little dark in there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but that's okay. Hi, I'm Jim, and here together with my wife, Chris, we are Geeks on Tour. Do you think your smartphone is smarter than you? And do you have questions about your Android phone or your iPad tablet? And how do you learn about these amazing devices?
Well, we are geeks who teach, and we think that the best way to learn is on a daily basis. That's how we learn, is
Lifelong
daily,
learning, yes.
lifelong learning. But for teaching, we think bit size on a regular basis. So that's why we came up with this weekly class. We pick a different topic each week. On our website, geeksontour.com, all of our content is collected there.
And we invite you to take a look. So where are we now, Chris?
We are back home in Fort Lauderdale after a full month in Italy, Croatia, Slovenia, and Berlin. Check out our photo album. I put a link to the photo album in the description of this YouTube video. So when you're finished watching the show, or at any time, you can click and go through that. Next week, we will be talking all about how we took the pictures, edited the pictures, and put them into that album.
Mm-hmm.
This week,
we're
talking about Google Maps and Google Translate. So it's all Google. Isn't that amazing? I mean, our most important apps as we were traveling in Europe were Google Maps, Google Translate, and Google Photos. And then there was a lot of other stuff, but those were the big important ones. So today, we're going to show you some Google Maps and Google Translate tips. And next week, we'll get into depth in the Google Photos.
All right. Yeah, so we're going to do something new after the show, and I put the link already in the live chat. If you would like to join us afterwards inside a regular show, and we'll record it, and you can ask questions live while we're in here. I set up another event so that after this show, you can click on that link and you can be invited into the inside of the show where we can see and hear you. You do need to have a good internet connection, and up to 10 people can participate. So I'll and I'll post that link in there again. It won't be live until we actually finish this part of it, and then I'll go into that one, and we'll see how it works. So
Yeah,
that's something new.
Sometimes like to chat about it afterwards or think other people might want to. So we're going to give it a try.
We'll give it a try. And by Wednesday afternoon, this episode, number 118, will be posted at our website at thebuttonshow.com, and you can leave your comments and stuff there if you don't want to be part of the live show, and that's fine. Okay, we do invite you to become a member at geeksontour.com. Just go to our website and click on the link. All right. So see our website, Geeks on Tour. We have weekly classes. That's what these things are, and all kinds of activities and things that you can learn by doing. Internet connections in Europe, Wi-Fi.
So that's the first thing. If your smartphone is going to be useful to you in Europe, you need an internet connection. So how do you get it? Well, Wi-Fi is very prevalent. I mean, there were some B&Bs and hotels that we went to that was the first thing they gave us was the Wi-Fi password.
That was great. They would have it written on their card, or they would have it posted on the refrigerator or on the door what the SSID, what network you to connect to, and what the password was. And it is so helpful just to have that. You don't have to ask for it over there the way you do here much.
And all of the ones we went to anyway were free.
Right. And they were all pretty good. And we found that the private homes and the B&Bs had better connections, faster and easier. The ones that were in the hotels were less robust. And it might have been because of how they were connecting or how many people were on or some other things, but almost every place was pretty good. But not all.
A couple of them were totally worthless. And of course, that was after our day at the national park with hundreds of waterfalls and took hundreds of photos and wanted to upload them, and we couldn't because the Wi-Fi at the hotel was not good enough.
But there's always another way to do it, and there's a plan B, hopefully.
So, before we talk about the cellular and the plan B, can you get by on Wi-Fi only if you're traveling in Europe? Well, maybe. I mean, we almost could have, because the important things that we did, the Google Maps and the Google Translate, you can download them for use offline, and we are going to show you how to do that. So you can download a section of Google Maps and have it available offline. You can download the language for the country you're in. You can download entertainment like podcasts. We listened to a lot of Rick Steves Europe podcasts. They're great. You can download Kindle books for reading on the train. And then realize that to upload photos or do your research, you just have to wait until you're at your hotel with a good Wi-Fi. So it is possible. However, there are things like we would make reservations at a hotel or B&B, and they would need to email us. And sometimes that was happening on the day of.
Yeah.
Other things, we wanted to research what was a good place to go for lunch. And so for that, Wi-Fi wasn't good enough. Cellular. So then you need cellular for when you're not at your hotel or apartment, and there's two different types of cellular. One that comes from your US plan, and some of those, that's what we had, and ours worked pretty good. T-Mobile and Project Fi is what we have, and it worked pretty well. Notice here's the little message where it says, "Welcome to Slovenia." That's what I would get on my iPhone, which is T-Mobile. Gives you unlimited data, but at 2G speeds.
Wow,
it was
that
pretty
was slow.
But I could do text messages. I could do a little bit of web browsing. That was fine. But I could not upload my pictures with that slow, but it's free. I mean, it's no extra charge. It's included. Roaming in Europe is included with T-Mobile plans. And the one on the right where it says welcome to Italy.
That was what I got on my Project Fi phone. Project Fi just worked. It was wonderful almost everywhere we were. It was high speed. Now I am paying $10 a gigabyte for that connectivity on my cellular plan, but it worked. It uses T-Mobile or US Cellular or Sprint here in the United States, but it'll use whatever roaming partners are available in Europe, and it is high speed.
Yeah, and that $10 per gigabytes is the same thing you pay here.
Right.
Right.
No
so there was no difference being in Europe, and his worked good.
I just used it more over there than I normally use it here.
Right. Because it actually works better in Europe than it does here.
It seemed to, yeah.
I think.
Yeah, because
Verizon works better here.
Right. And this is not Verizon for, yeah, I think you're right. It does.
So what if you do have Verizon or AT&T? They do have roaming in Europe, but you have to arrange for it in advance. You have to buy day passes, and they're $10 a day.
Right.
And we were there for 32 days. That would have added up.
Yeah. It'll add up no matter what we do. Okay. But you can get local service. You can get a SIM card from over there. And that's what we did on one of our devices here. We got this
hotspot.
It's an older 3G hotspot, and all we needed to do was buy the SIM card and load the SIM card up with data, and it worked.
And that was pretty reasonable. $15 for 30 gigabytes.
Right.
But that was in Italy.
Italy only.
The Italy SIM card didn't work in Croatia. So you would have to buy a new SIM card at each place. And we were prepared to do that. But once we got to Croatia, we had really good Wi-Fi in our first apartment.
Right.
So we didn't do it.
And yeah, but we could have.
And sometimes your phone will take a foreign SIM card, but that you have to figure out with your particular device. It needs to be unlocked and it needs to be GSM.
Right.
But then there's this one other option called SkyRoam, and we just heard about this from our friend Nora on Facebook. She says that she buys the SkyRoam hotspot, and you do not have to have a separate SIM for each country. I don't know quite how it works, but the hotspot is like $80, and then it's $8 a day for the data.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be something I would look into that next time if we do this again.
When we do this again.
When we do this again.
All right. Questions. I see one from Bill. Were cell towers hidden, or do they pop up in pictures of scenery?
We saw cell towers. Yeah. Maybe I probably have a few pictures of them.
Yeah. They were all over the place. In fact, a lot of the castles actually had antennas on the walls of the towers and stuff like that. It was, yeah, but that you could see them, and we looked for them.
We always do.
All right.
Okay.
Next. So we're going to demo some Google Maps.
So with Google Maps, I want to show you how, or I will demonstrate. You might have to give me a little instruction because Jim did most of the finding our lodging. So I want to show you how he started with Google Maps to get rooms to stay, and then how we used it to navigate when we were walking around cities. I want to show you how you can download for offline use, and then show you the timeline. And just one other thing while you're on this slide, and that is the offline maps have gotten a lot better.
Right.
I mean, it used to be that the offline maps were really small in location, and you had to really tell it, you had to know how to use them. Now, when you don't have cellular, you just get it uses the offline, and you see this little cloud with a line through it that's letting you know that you no longer have a connection, and it is using the offline map. Okay, so let's do it.
All right.
I'm going to start. What am I going to start with? Cellular. So I'm going to start with the iPhone and do Google Maps on that, because this really worked the same. This all worked the same, whether it was on the iPhone or on Jim's Android. So I'm going to do the maps on my iPhone, and I'm going to do the translation on Jim's Android.
Okay. Now, what I usually did when I was researching a place to stay, I used Google Maps, and I typically would start on the cell phone, but I'd probably move over to a bigger screen. I had my Surface Pro with me, and that has a bigger display, so I could see a bigger picture. I really like a bigger picture when I'm planning. But I would go to an area and I would just do a search. And I would search for lodging in Vincosi, for instance.
So, yeah, let's say we want to go to Vincosi. We'll tell them about Vincosi.
Okay, Vincosi was the town where my grandfather immigrated from. Back in those days, he actually came over twice, once in 06 and once in 1912. And he would, we could tell that this is the town he was from because the information from Ellis Island. It was interesting. So that was really the reason that we went to Vincosi. It used to be Austria-Hungary, and then it was part of Yugoslavia. Now it's Croatia. It's its own country, and they're very proud of that.
And a lot of people are going to Croatia on the coast now, but Vincosi is a long ways from the coast. It's very much in the eastern edge of Croatia.
Right.
So one of the first things that you might do is first just locate the train station, because we will probably be walking from the train station. So I just want to show you how I would mark. So I would look for the Vincosi train station, and then I would put a permanent marker on there. I would save it, and I'll just mark it with this green want to go. All right, so just on the map now, even when I've lost my search, I have a little green marker of where the train station is.
That was very important because you would be walking.
Right. All right, now let's look for lodging.
And since you're already in that area, it's going to constrain its search for that area pretty much.
So I can see there now. Google Maps only finds 3 places.
There are a lot more places to stay. I think that what it's coming up with is places that have actually advertised.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. But now, so there's the train station, and we want to be kind of by the river, which is in the main part of town. So let's take a look at Hotel Admiral. And then you swipe up to see more details.
Yeah, remember that. Swipe up to see more details.
Yeah, so here we are, Hotel Admiral. Swipe up. It's saying it's $61. That would be okay, but I'll bet you there's more. And see how booking.com appears here.
I use booking.com a lot while I was searching. Sometimes I'd even make the reservations through Booking. You need an account. It's free to register, and they will find areas where you can stay.
So there's the Hotel Admiral, and we could just go ahead and book it, but then it shows a bunch of other places in the same area in Vincosi, and it tells you that they have Wi-Fi. And here's the one that we ended up staying at, and it was wonderful.
Right.
So you just tap on the one you want. You can read all the information about it.
And you can see reviews from other people who have actually stayed there.
And then you can reserve it. And you either pay at the time, or some of them were just reserve it through booking.com and then pay when you get there.
Right.
But this was a bedroom, a walk-in closet, a living room, a TV, a kitchen, a bathroom with a washing machine.
Right. That was very handy
And
because we were traveling very light, so we would have to wash our underwear and our shirts and stuff, and we hung them out to dry. They didn't have dryers in these places, but they did have washers.
and $67. I just thought that was such a bargain. And that was one of the places that had really good Wi-Fi. In fact, we did a Facebook Live session from there. All right. So that's booking places. Anything else you want to add about finding places? Anything else that Google Maps helps you with?
Yeah, well, it's nice to read the reviews and all that stuff. This particular one said in the reviews, are not in the review, but in their advertising, we speak your language, and I thought that was great. And we'll go there, and then it was funny because if they speak your language, that's great, as long as your language is Croatian.
Croatian. Because they did not speak any English.
They tried and they did well. Google Translate, that's where that came in.
Okay. So next, we used Google Maps to navigate walking. So let's say we wanted to go from the train station, which I already have marked, no problem. And I want to get directions to the Vinkovci apartments. And I thought they'd already be in my list, but Vinkovci,
there it is.
Apartment Vinkovci. And you just make sure instead of the car icon, which is what we normally use with navigating, you use the walking icon. And these directions are perfect. They're great, but.
But. There's always a but.
Since when you're walking, you're not going too fast. So it doesn't see your movements. And you can go off in a wrong direction, for a good block before Google Maps sees where you are and sees that you're not on the right route. So it was an adventure.
Oh, yeah. So we figured the way to do it would be we'd look at the map and we'd see which way we're supposed to be going because the little dots are on there. And then we'd start walking in the direction we thought was right. It wasn't always, but occasionally it was. We had a 50-50 chance of going in the right direction usually. And then if the arrow followed us, we're going in the right direction. If it was going off in some other direction, then we knew that we had to correct somehow. And so it is easier to navigate with
a car
because you're actually moving along and it updates fast enough.
And especially when you're in towns with very narrow streets and high walls on either side.
Oh, yeah,
then Google Maps really has a problem figuring out where you are. But we could not have done it without it.
Would not have wanted to do it.
We couldn't. I mean, so even if the trains
have for years, they've navigated.
We couldn't. No, we need Google Maps. So that was great.
Okay.
All right. So then next, how do you download? So if I say we're going to be walking around Vinkovci and the internet cellular doesn't work very well here, I need this map to be available offline. It's the 3-line menu and offline areas. Notice I did this for all sorts of areas. I didn't happen to do it for Vinkovci. So I'm going to say custom area. And on the Android, that is one that is slightly different. I think it just says new area there instead of custom. Now, how do you figure out how much you need? This says that downloads may take up to 225 megabytes. Let's say we rented a car and we wanted to go over to Serbia. I can keep pinching the screen until I'm getting more. Notice this is going to take up a lot more space, 1,500 megabytes. But I have it, so that's all right. Now, at some point, notice how the area now starts shrinking. So it's saying, nope, sorry, you can't get any more than that. But that's a lot more than it used to be.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It used to only get a city size. And this is getting, you know, like the whole country of Bosnia. And then you just tap on download. And from then on, with no internet connection, you have your maps.
Now, typically, you're going to want to do this when you have a good, fast Wi-Fi connection. You're not using your data plan for those megabytes.
And the last thing to show you about Google Maps is timeline, and that's for after the fact. So you say, where did we go? And if I tap on the 3-line menu and timeline, my timeline, I mean, June 25, that's today, it's showing you where I am. But if I tap on this little calendar and I go to June 7, I know that that's the day that one of the days we were in Vinkovci. And number one, it shows us exactly, we walked to the grocery store called Lidl, L-I-D-L, it shows us. And it shows us the photos from that day. That's all in timeline. But I want to show you something more interesting. June 1. June 1, we were in Venice, and then we took the train over to Trieste. But if I zoom in on Venice, that's the day that we rented kayaks. And we went kayaking around the canals of Venice. And if you don't believe me, the pictures that we took that day also show up in the timeline. Is that cool or what? Now, this is private for my eyes only. In fact, you can't share it. If I should want to share this, I would have to do it with a screenshot.
Right. That's a question from Bill. Is there any way to connect the maps timeline with your photos?
Well, I mean, from the timeline, you can see your photos, but from your photos, you cannot see the timeline, no.
No, the only thing you can do is take a screenshot and make that it'll become a photo, and it will be in your photos if you're saving your screenshots.
Yeah, that's how I do it.
That's how I do it.
So that's all I want to show you with Google Maps. Now, Google Translate.
That really came in handy for us too.
And I'm going to use the Android for that, just so that we use both iPhone and Android in our show here. This is Jim's phone. And since it's Google Translate, I'm going to show you how you can translate by typing words or by speaking them or by viewing them. That's cool. And then how you download a language.
Ready?
So, yep, Google Translate is Google. So Jim has it in his Google group. And there is Translate. And then you can translate from English to another language. So right now it's saying English to German. And let's say I want to know how to say, how much does this cost? How much does this cost in German? And there it is. And I say, I have no idea how to pronounce that.
Wie viel kostet das?
But I can tap the little speaker, and let's see if you can hear that.
Wie viel kostet das?
So that helps, but if I don't even want to try it, I might just show the phone to the person I'm talking to, and they can read it in their language, or I can
Wie viel kostet das?
play it and see if that
Or you
helps.
could seek out a young person in that country. We found that most young people understood and could speak English. At least they learn it when they're in school over there. We are monoglots, so we only speak one language, and that is usually the American language that we learn.
Well, that's one of my favorite jokes. You know what they call somebody who only speaks one language?
American.
American. Yeah. We did not have any problems with language.
And we tried.
Most places, there was somebody who could speak some English. But there was one place where she spoke not one word of English and I spoke not one word of Croatian. But we were still able to figure out how to pay for a room for the night. And
it turned out to be a pretty good room.
And Google Translate does help. But yeah.
It's confusing to people who have never seen it or used it.
So let me show you a couple other examples here. But I don't want German. Now I want Croatian. So I just tap the little arrow. And there's Croatian because it's one that I've used recently. But look at all these. Bosnian, Bulgarian, Catalan, Cebuano, Chichewa. Don't even know what those are. Estonian, Filipino, German, Greek. There are over 100 languages in Google Translate. Everyone that has this little down arrow, that means that you can download that language. So you'll be able to use Google Translate even when you don't have a data connection. So if we choose Croatian, and now I can type thank you. There. And there it is.
Kavala.
Nobody said the T. Now, what if somebody is speaking Croatian to us, or I see a sign and I want it translated into English? You tap those two arrows, and now in Croatian, I say, what is HVALA? And it tells me that that's thank you. Now, that's typing. And this, I do think, is still the clearest, easiest, useful way to use Google Translate. But what if I have something that I don't want to spend time typing? And I'll say, I can just use the microphone and talk. Which bus do I take to get to the train station? Yeah, right. I'm going to say that. No, this is where I'm going to hold up the phone to whoever I'm talking to, see if they can understand that computer voice, or just let them read it. Now, the coolest thing is this third. So there's 3 ways you can type, you can speak, or you can view. So for this, we need to change the way that we demonstrate here. So first go out to this. I printed off a couple of photos of things that were in a different language. So here is a picture of something we saw in the grocery store, but we cannot read what it is. And here's another one of those. And here is a sign that I wanted to know what it says. So on the phone, okay, let me get that up. In order to hold up the phone and have you see what's on the screen, we're going to use this called reflector. All right. So now you're seeing the screen. I go into Translate, and this time I'm going to tap that little camera so that I am then just looking out the lens. And I'm looking at this picture, and there is the vegetable, and it's something called tikvika. Notice I am translating from English to Croatian. So no, I just tap it and I changed it to be from Croatian to English. And now I'm also going to tap in the lower right-hand corner. There's something that kind of looks like an eyeball with a slash through it. When I tap on that, it goes into instant mode. And it instantly is showing me on the screen the English transaction. Aha!
It's zucchini.
That's zucchini. Yeah, it does look like zucchini, but it's round. So that's interesting. And it tells me it's from
Spain.
Spain. But notice how it keeps refiguring it out. So this is helpful, but not perfect.
And it's
any means.
confusing, yeah. But it really did help when I was trying to read the ingredients on some food or some other things in stores.
Now here's a good one. Wow, look how it keeps bouncing around though.
Beer.
There.
Pivo. Bud. Pied.
Pivo is definitely beer. Boy, but it just bounces around. But you work with it a little bit and you get it. Now, this one that's not Croatian. That is Slovenian. So let me go back and change it to Slovenian. And we want to translate from Slovenian to English. And I want to do it with a little camera. This one, notice that the little eyeball with the slash through it is grayed out.
So it's not available to do that instant translation with the camera.
Right. Not the instant. You can still do it with the camera, but you have to do another step. So that's because of the language. Slovenian just doesn't have the instant capability.
Yeah.
But you can tap the little camera icon and it scans it and it says, oh, okay, I see some words here. Then it says use your finger to highlight the text. So I'm just rubbing over the screen and says, okay, that's Stopnichi, blah, blah. And it translates to that to rates. Now, when I did this before, it said stairs. Use at your own risk. So, Google Translate, helpful, not perfect.
But wow, it really did help when we were trying to communicate.
When you had to know a word,
it was there.
It could find that word for you.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay. I think that's the end of my demonstration. Let me see. Oh, download language. Well, I did show you that. It was you just tap that little down arrow.
Right.
When you have a good internet connection, and it downloads.
So I downloaded the languages for Croatian, for Italian, for German, and for Slovenian. Those are the 4 countries that we're going to be.
So we could do that anytime during the day, whether we had an internet connection or not.
Right. Cool. All right. I don't see any more questions. Somebody was having problems with the connectivity. I'm hoping it's on their end. Everything seems to be working at our end. So anybody else? Any other questions? We'll try and get to them before the end of the show. We do invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com and search for Geeks on Tour. And you'll find us and go ahead and subscribe. It's really nice. We are old dogs learning new tricks, and we are on Facebook. So again, go to facebook.com and search for Geeks on Tour and like our page because we like you. Our app of the week. My app of the week this week was really handy. Over there, we were on the Eurail. We got Eurail tickets for 2 countries, but actually Slovenia and Croatia are considered one country over there for the rail pass, and Italy. So that was really cool. I got this rail planner app that you put on your smartphone. It's for iPhones and for Androids, and it'll give you offline train schedules. So it was really handy when I was making these plans for travel. We had 10 days total travel on the plan. And if we wanted to use it, we would need to fill out the diary and all this stuff as part of the ticket. but we made the plans, and I could figure out times, whether I needed reservations on certain pieces of it. Most of the trains that were regional ones that we traveled on, so we didn't need special reservations, but a couple of them did require on the high speed lines, like from Florence to Venice was one, and another one from,
Yeah, those high speed lines were nice.
yeah.
They had food and some of them had Wi-Fi.
You had to pay for the Wi-Fi on the high-speed trains. It wasn't free, but so
Most of the-
I didn't. We used the
Let me show it.
cellular data. Okay. So you want
Right, cellular data on the trains. That's when we used our cellular data.
right. Okay.
Mostly your Project Fi, my T-Mobile, not as much.
Okay, so go ahead and bring up the rail planner.
That's the one right there.
Uh-huh.
And it's fast.
It is. It's local, so it wasn't using the internet while you were in there doing that. So you just tap on where where you're going from to.
If I say we want to go to Trieste from Vincosi.
And you went. Now you have to hit the
Search.
swap the arrows, because Trieste to Vincosi or Vincosi to Trieste.
Okay.
So yeah, and then search, and it'll give you, and you can search for later trains. This gives you trains that are available like right now, but you can go several days in advance, or you can look up stuff that maybe you had done. So it's very time sensitive. Notice that it's in 24-hour time. So that's where you wanted to put your clock to the 24-hour.
Yeah, but
it was great.
Pretty easy until you get there. And then none of the trains have a sign on them as to where they're going. None of the trains have a number. We actually got on one before it left the station, and I saw a conductor. Is this train going to where we think it's going?
No.
He said no. We had to jump off. The trains are confusing, but they were great. I loved train travel in Europe.
It's very relaxing, and for me, I didn't have to drive, so I could look at the scenery. For the time that we did rent a car and we went through some beautiful areas, it was I had to pay more attention to the road than I could to the scenery.
I think you really liked the train travel.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, it was wonderful. So we had wonderful time. So when you go over there, I do recommend that you buy your own rail pass, because ours were bought through the travel agent, and I could not make reservations inside the app. I had to go actually to a train ticket office to get any reservations. So not a big deal, but
you had an extra adventure there.
Yeah, I did. I had to go to Arezzo one day so I could get the reservations. It wasn't a problem, and they tell you to reserve as far in advance as you possibly can, because you know where you're going to be. But for us, this was
that means one day for us.
We did not know where we were going to be, and we made these plans while we were there. So, and it worked out pretty well for us. And we had perfect weather the whole time.
That was pretty special.
Okay, so let's finish this up. Did you learn something? Well, I know I did. Let's go through these. Wi-Fi is available most everywhere you stay in Europe. True or false?
True. And in our experience anyway, it was free Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And most of it was good. Yeah. Not all.
Trains, buses, and city centers all have Wi-Fi. True or false?
That was false.
But a lot of them did. Now, the local trains did not. The one bus we were on from Slovenia to Italy and back, only their Wi-Fi worked in Slovenia. It didn't work in Italy. so that was something. They were using some cellular system on the bus. The Google Maps feature that shows where you've been is called what?
Timeline.
Timeline. And Timeline is private only to you or your account. and you can't even share it normally.
But I love it.
Yeah, it's really great. To adjust the size of an offline map area, what do?
You just pinch the screen to get a bigger area, or spread your fingers to get a smaller area.
Okay. Google Translate can translate words that you type, speak, or what?
View through the camera lens of the phone.
So it uses the camera on the phone to see what you want translated.
And it will either translate it instantly,
if that's available.
With some languages it has that capability, or you have to take a snapshot.
Okay. What? Go back. Google Translate includes how many languages? 3, 10, or more than 100?
More than 100.
It's amazing.
It really is.
And you can download those languages so that you can use them offline too. And that's, if you know where you're going to be, it's very handy because it does require an internet connection if you don't have it downloaded. All right, Chris, what's the web page that lists all of our weekly shows?
Geeksontour.com, and the menu item is actually, I think it says weekly class now rather than weekly show.
Time to change.
I do.
And the web page that lists all of our recent newsletters.
Geeksontour.com, the menu item is blogs and news, and newsletters is under there.
Cool. And what benefits do you get by joining Geeks on Tour?
Our complete learning library of our prepared short tutorial videos, questions. You can ask us any questions in the member Q&A forum.
And we promise to respond.
And you get the show notes for these shows. So written, and you don't, with timeline links.
And you might get a discount on products and services if we ever
Sometimes,
have any.
yeah, if you're around where we're giving hands-on classes, you get a discount. And you get the all of our ebooks.
All of our ebooks.
Including the Google Photos one.
Very handy. All right. Again, we invite you to become a member at geeksontour.com. Just click on the link there. So we're going to do this post-show Q&A. I'm going to put that link back in there. Let's see if I can still have it there.
Over in the chat. And we will be there in just a minute. And if anybody shows up and wants to chat, we'll chat.
If
nobody
not,
does, we'll shut it down.
So yeah, give it a shot. And if you have questions, you can, because we're going to shut this one down. We won't have this chat. There will be a chat over there, and we'll see how that works.
But the purpose of this one is to be live, face to face,
right?
Not to type.
Okay.
Next week.
Next week, we're going to do this live again. So Sunday, July 2nd, it's all about our photos and using Google Photos for our Europe Photos album and how we managed all of those pictures.
How we took them and edited them and managed them, because we did not take a big camera. All of our photos were done with our phones. And take a look at the album. I think they're pretty impressive.
Well, I did use my Samsung Android. It's not a phone, but it is a camera. It's an Android tablet with a good lens. So we'll show that too.
But no digital SLR.
No digital.
Did we use?
Yeah. Okay. And watch for the posts and show notes. If you have questions or an idea for a topic, go ahead and hit it, and we'll go from there. What happened to that?
I'm Chris.
I'm Jim.
And
we'll
see you next week.
Bye-bye. And stop this broadcast.